The podcast this week was recorded before the European final, but it would be remiss of me not to put a little bit in at the start. I'm sure we will discuss it on a future podcast, but the Lionesses obviously winning the Euros is ridiculous, is amazing. It's a massive thing for the sport in this country, and everybody in the country will be proud of that team because it was an amazing performance. It's been an amazing performance all tournament, and I love to see what this is doing for the game. So massive congratulations to the Lionesses. Hello and welcome to episode 77 of the Talking Wednesday podcast. I am James, Dex, whatever you want to call me, as always. However, this week I am not joined by Jake Punkchef41. I am joined by Worko. Well, Jack Worko, but we're going to go with Worko, which is his Twitch, things
fine.
like that. Yeah, we will go. So Worko
yes,
is somebody who we've had on this podcast before on the community calling episodes. Did you do both?
I did one. With, I think it was Dave, who was the other caller on mine. And yes. So you know my voice, you
did the
don't
one.
know my face, but here I am, yes.
You did the one where me and Jake got it. You did the anniversary special, yeah, where we're the only one where we've ever been sat in the same room. Yeah, but you might remember a while ago, probably at the start of this podcast, and it's still in the actual audio description if you get this into an audio feed. This is meant to be a podcast with Dexterity Box and various guest hosts. However, for the first 76 episodes, it's kind of ended up just being me and Jake because we had that vibe and that chemistry and it worked nicely. But I did say I wanted to have some more contributing guests on. That doesn't mean it's not always going to be me with somebody else. It might be me and Jake with somebody else. We'll see how it goes, but Worko's somebody who's been in the Discord for quite a while. We've chatted to you. Feels like we know you a lot more now, you know. So it just made sense. So, do you want to say a little bit about yourself so people can know you if they
James,
don't already?
Dex, you may have had a lot of chemistry with Punkchef41, but now there is a new kid on the block, and you're going to have a lot of chemistry with him too. Oh yes. Oh yes,
excellent. So you're vying for that spark, are you?
I'm as you can tell, I'm comfortable on camera. Get your minds out the gutter, people. All right, I'm comfortable on camera. I do a Twitch thing. I'm hoping one day to do the YouTube stuff. Yes, and I'm 23 years old, despite looking about 30. Yes, I know I look much older than I am, and I've got a lot of childhood baggage to go along with said joke about looking much older than I am. Absolutely. But I'm Worko. I'm an avid Sheffield Wednesday supporter. Unfortunately, I've not actually been able to come to a game for various reasons, but one of them I discussed on the anniversary podcast. Feel free to check that out, by the way. It's a very good episode. Not because I'm on it, but I actually live down in the East Midlands, so I've got sort of a outsider looking in perspective on the club for quite some time, and actually I mostly know insider type stuff more from the Mandarich era than the Chansiri era, because I've only seen a handful of games under Chansiri's ownership. But yes, I'm Worko. Hello, thanks for having me. You know,
armchair comments, stand down.
Armchair
fan base.
Armchair fan.
No. To be honest, though, you've got a good. You know what I like in football? Good rational voices that know what they're talking about, but also know where they need to step back because they might have not seen something week on week. That's where people don't know the line.
Absolutely.
And it's in. Well, the thing is, though, most Wednesday fans, especially recently with all the matches being televised, can say so. You can't see off-ball stuff, right? That is the one difficulty of not going, but you can see a lot of it, especially during lockdown where everything was televised. So fans could come in that way and pretty much see absolutely everything. And there was sort of it sucked not being in the ground and being at the match, but there was an air of community and togetherness, especially during that phase, that lockdown phase where everybody was just watching the same thing no matter where they were in the fan base and international fan bases and everything. So it was nice. But yeah, what a way to introduce yourself, by the way.
Oh, wow, thank you.
Very, very good on that one. Yes, this is not the most timely episode. It is quite close because we are filming just a few days before we would do. However, one of my friends has decided to to get married, so you can blame him. We're away all weekend on his stag do, so he will be probably left somewhere public where by the time this goes out, while we've all gone home. So yeah, I might have ended up in a well. I don't know why I'd be in a well, but we'll see what happens. There's some plans. Let's just say there's some plans for this stag do, and we'll see what happens, and whether this is the last episode of the Talking Wednesday podcast. We don't know. Well, it's not mine. I'll be safe. You'd think, but it is.
You would think.
It's a very small stag, which is dangerous. There's 6 of us, so it's like
that's
including the stag.
Dangerous territory.
Yeah.
Oh boy. So I have 2 points to raise about what you've said. Number 1, well done for dating the podcast there, James, with the recording a few days before we go out.
I can tell you watch the bloody podcast to see what I'm known about, can't you?
Yeah, you can tell I'm an avid fan, right? And number 2, where's the snakeskin shirt, James? No, don't.
Get off.
Right,
we're ending it.
I'm going. So
you're done. You had your chance.
2. I have my chance. Where's the snakeskin shirt, James? Because you're a fashion forward kind of guy, and I thought I'd replicate that energy with bringing back the bowling shirt. And
I think,
where is it?
I'm sorry, if you'd given me a heads up, I'd have done this.
I can't believe this.
It's just been washed, so it's on a washing pile somewhere. I've got some much more disgusting shirts now. I've just had a new order come up, and I've also just got some like Yu-Gi-Oh shirts because I'm a massive nerd, which are pretty cool. But I am wearing a Foo Fighters shirt, in fairness. So that's not
I was
too
always
bad.
more Avatar, The Legend of Aang, rather than Yu-Gi-Oh personally. But that was just my cup of tea growing up.
Nah, mate. Nah.
Sorry that
it's all about you. I've got lots of collectible plastic behind me that's got Yu-Gi-Oh on it, but it's higher up than the camera would reach. But yeah, it is a Sheffield Wednesday podcast, and I always do eventually remember that. But I'll tell you what, we'll do it this way. How has your week been? Worko?
It's been wonderful. I'm having a backyard home office cabin thing being built, and I learned yesterday that is getting delayed until the 23rd of August because of shipping material delays. Because the materials are coming from Germany, and they unfortunately don't want to be efficient, as is the stereotype from that part of the world. But hopefully in time that'll be resolved, and I'll not be in my bedroom anymore. But yes, that's been okay. And I also got rejected for a voice acting gig because of the fact that this is where I am and not in a studio. So I'm not angry and bitter at all.
What is it? I might submit an application and just slip right in there.
It was basically it was a startup video game company that wanted a narrator for the sort of intro cutscene and the ending cutscene, where it was all like, long ago in the lands of Mithril. It was like that sort of stuff. Yeah. And they liked my voice reel demo thing, and then had asked about my circumstance. And I'm a very honest man. I will just say it how it is. I'm not like a trickster or anything. So I told them my circumstances, and they said, well, we think, their exact words to me, when you're serious about things, then maybe come and apply to us again. Okay, well, I'm not going back to them again. Thank you. Goodbye, sayonara. Absolutely not going back to them again. But that was my week, because yes,
right. I don't usually lie about stuff, but in that situation, I would have lied. But also,
yes,
your voice reel. Where did you record it? Right,
in here.
And they said they liked your voice reel.
Yes.
You didn't have to tell them anything then, man, because they liked the quality, didn't they?
But they asked, and I do not withhold information.
So the bit that the recorders that they liked,
and I told them I explained this to them.
Right.
What I did was I wrapped my curtain around the back of me like this. Yeah. And then I was literally delivering it like this right now. Yeah. This is going to be a great bit of the podcast video, but for YouTube watchers...
Skip ahead, this deal.
Yeah, skip ahead, you don't know.
It doesn't change no matter the host.
It doesn't change. very scuffed. But anyway, that's how my week's been.
I used to do it at uni when I did voice reels. I used to have like a duvet all the way over the back. Now I've got soundproofing on that wall. I don't know if I can actually get this over without destroying everything. Now I've got just the back. I've actually forgot the official name of this. I've got a sound degree and I've forgot what words are called.
Acoustic paneling.
That's the fella. I nearly swore there.
That's the fella.
Yeah, I use that even though I've got a wall there that's covered in acoustic paneling.
Oh, yes.
Because I use that the other way and then have the acoustic paneling behind me and it actually works as quite a nice dead space. And I usually then put sheets up and it all works quite nicely. But this is, yeah, I've not done reading for anything in a little while. So it's been mainly me singing.
I see.
Mainly that side of it. Are you a singer, Worko? Does
Absolutely
that side
not.
of the theatre go in there now?
I sing in the shower, and I did go to that stagecoach thing when I was young. And people say that I'm like, yeah, you can do well as a intermediate or whatever. I don't sound tone deaf, put it that way, but I've not got the confidence to say like, yes, I can sing. Yes, but I'm not a singer, sadly. I don't have a band. Enough. I don't have a band that deserves way more monthly listeners.
Yeah, Jake's messages to me. Yeah, Jake's messaged me about this, saying that you want to use the music and stuff, and I'm like, so hang on, somebody actually. Is that where we're getting the listeners from? Because when I look at it, I'm like well, this isn't just me listening to the band.
It genuinely was. I've actually got a few top streamers to add your music to their normal playlists, but not the stream playlist, like what they listen to. And I think their follower base who are like, yes.
If they ever get copyright, as I said before, if they ever get any copyright issues for me, let me know, because then I've got my distribution company. I can make sure they don't get
your distribution company. Look at you with your.
It's not my company. Is it? It's
my
just one of those
company.
things.
Wow.
You have to have a distribution name to submit to it, and then I just have to.
I see.
It's nothing fancy, basically. If it was anything fancy, I'd have to pay a lot for it, and I don't have to do that. So, because streaming music makes you no money, even if you do
unless you're getting
relatively well,
hundreds of millions of streams, then you might see a reasonable return from that, I guess. But you know,
you get more at gigs, and gigs aren't
Yeah.
always fantastic either.
So where were you at Tramlines as well? But where were you at Tramlines?
That's a good point.
I was waiting for you to be announced. I would have gone. If you'd have been there, I would have gone.
Tramlines was a tough one for me this year because I didn't like the no entry policy on the main festival, because I'll be honest, we've never played the main stages, and I've gone to Tramlines Festival after playing it, the main, and gone around, and because you go in and out, and the whole point of it is when you're not really keen on a band that are playing on the main stage, or you prefer to go and support some locals, so you pop into a pub, and that's usually we've had some really good Tramlines Fringe gigs, and Tramlines Fringe is fantastic. It's where I'd always play, but through the podcast we did have a couple of offers, and then my drummer.
Oh, it's the drummers. It's the drummers.
Because I've got a couple of drummers that I try and work with, but the one that I thought I'd be able to get hold of on short notice just decided to be difficult for the sake of being difficult.
Yeah.
And I was like, and it was a case of, now we do so much synth work, we don't have a synth player because I play it on the track. So if you're a synth player, get in touch with me. So it's a case of, synth-wise, we'd probably have the full band and we'd try and play it to a click now, just so we could have the synths in there, because we were very raw classic rock and indie rock for a while, but now I've used a lot more synth, the sound for a lot of it now. We kind of need that, so I needed to have that drummer, because we'd have run straight into a mixer that he could then have the headphones on and cue the band to the synth, if you get me.
Yeah.
And we'd still have a very live performance, it's just the keyboard part would be because it's a dual layered synth part. It needs a full on decent synth. So but yeah, that was. Thank you for the offers through there, and I will say there's one that I'm talking to that we probably will play next year. So you know who you are, and thank you for the offer there. So we will come back to that next year because I'm going to be sorting a lot of that out. So yes, I will be at Tramlines in some capacity next year because it's the first year I've missed it ever since I started playing it.
And thank you for making me now want to go to Tramlines, whoever you are.
You know, and it's not even going to be a ticket. Oh, it might. No, I don't think they are.
Do I get?
I'll tell you about it after this.
Do I get like backstage VIP?
It won't be, honestly, mate. There won't even be. It'll be the way I play it. I think there's so much churning on the fringe. It's hardly even a sound check. You literally just rock up and play.
Nice.
So it's one of those because the venue that I think we played in the middle of the day before, or way back when the band started, and I'd been on the drink till about 4 a.m. And I was 21. I'd just finished first lot of uni and I was about to go back for the second. So that summer I was like, before I go on to this masters, we're just going to gig. That's all we're going to do.
Gig.
And me and my drummer at the time, we'd literally just sat with a couple of bottles, I think Jim Beam, just by the stream.
Oh,
that rhymed. Didn't mean for that to rhyme.
It rhymed. Are you a poet?
And then I just remember,
wow.
I remember us saying, well, we should probably go to bed now. And then we had to get up a couple of hours later because it was really warm and we couldn't really. And I was like, right, we're just going to have to do this sort of thing. So I just remember profusely sweating. And the couple of covers in the set, it was back in the time where like Uptown Funk was big and stuff like that, and Shut Up and Dance and that summer.
Summer. I remember it.
They were the couple of covers that we had in there. They were the couple we had in there, and to be honest, we were quite late to those songs. It might have been a year after that we were still playing those songs. But I just remember trying to jump up and down on stage, and I just like turning round to him at some point, and we both looked at each other, just like sweating profusely, like we're gonna die, we're gonna die. But it was rammed, and it was such a good gig, and I was like, why do I feel like I'm gonna? I've done this to myself. So yeah. Be nice to play.
Judging on previous episodes, by the way, listeners, you can tell that James here, Dex, and I are both very much creative people. It's a very different, and we're into theatre and all that because it's a very different. How's your week been pre-Sheffield Wednesday discussion to how it's been normally?
I might put the timestamp in here. However, if you do skip,
you're missing out on a lot of top quality conversation, quite frankly. Lots of laughs, and please don't skip. Please watch the whole episode, because then your favourite podcast gets you more revenue. Speaking of which, if you like the podcast, please drop a like on the YouTube video and leave a review on all of your favourite podcast sites. And if you don't like the podcast, please still leave a review and tell us where we can improve. And still, like the video on YouTube, because then more people will see it.
Don't do that. Don't want to hear about where I can improve. I'm stone stubborn. Just don't bother.
If you like the video, more people can see said YouTube video and then very toxically talk about it on Twitter with misspelt tweets.
Pretty much. And with the don't bother. Leave us nice reviews, please, because that helps us get into the review. That helps us get into the review charts, which is helpful when you're trying to get up the football charts on podcast platforms. So if you haven't left us a review there, please do that. That would be
especially
excellent.
This one, because I want to come back and do more. But that's all dependent on how well this episode does. So please leave many.
Nice. Yeah, we keep it. That's exactly it. We've got him on trial. This is basically it's his loan.
I am the apprentice. This is my loan to see if there's a permanent transfer at the end of the season and whatnot. You know.
We will see how you get on. Will you be a Jay Bothroyd?
Oh
or
no!
Will you be,
don't
will you be a Jacob Murphy?
Me.
Or will you be? It's either one. It's either one. That would be very fitting, actually. You sod off to one of the other podcasts. After this, you do so you do so well, like Jacob Murphy, and then you go on to you go into one of the actual mainstream League One or Championship podcasts or something, and we're like, oh, all right, see you later, Worko. It's fine.
For the benefit of the audio listeners, I was waving profusely at the camera.
Amazing. Right. We should probably... I've realised we have run for about 20 minutes, which is fantastic.
Run
because
time,
this podcast, I didn't think it was going to be very long.
Wow. You had a lot of faith in me, I see. Wow. Okay. Okay, James. Okay,
well,
Dex.
We're not doing the normal news, are we? The only news this week is the away shirts out. If you want to buy it, go buy it. Absolutely. I'm sure Jake's done a review on it because it's what he does.
Please check out that review. It's a very good review, by the way.
Shows I've watched it, doesn't it? So Wednesday you played Portsmouth this week, but this is a slight pre-record for the rest of this episode, so Jake is going to give you all the updates on what happened there, and we will see what my mood will be next week after that, but I'm quite jovial this episode, so enjoy that while it lasts. Here's what happened at Portsmouth.
Hey lads, Sheffield Wednesday had a really good game in one sense in the first half. It's a game of two halves, really, this game against Pompey. We played some really good football in the first half. Looked really good, flowing football. Lot of little flicks and tricks. We go 1-0 thanks to a Barry Bannon ball to Josh Windass, who, to his credit, he gets pushed out wide, gets the cross in. Lee Gregory goes for it, misses it, and Marvin Johnson gets on the end of a volley to make it 1-0. And it's really good play by us. We're playing a 3-5-2, so it's that kind of moving back if we need to in the formation. And we play some really good football, really nice little tricks and turns. Windass gets a yellow card early door where he needs to be keeping on his toes a little bit so he doesn't get sent off. More on that later. Windass and Bayer playing some lovely football together. Delhi's been going really well. Deli Bashir is starting with a lot of speed, with a lot of energy, and he really plays some good football. The only thing that's letting down a little bit in the first half with a bit of a decision-making. We really should have taken a lot more of our chances in the first half. We could have been 2 or 3-0 up, but it wasn't the case, sadly. Second half, though, completely different story. It's an absolute completely different story to how we were in the first half. They come out a bit more grit between the teeth, look better, and the defensive frailties from last season are still there. It's a cross into the box, it's a free header, it's 1-1. That comes down to coaching. This is a different set of players at the back. So the only one who's been there, and you could say Iorfa hadn't played most of last season, so it's completely new to be fair. Stockdale, Owitway, Hennigan, Iorfa, completely new back three. I get people saying gelling, but it's the same kind of goal we were conceding last season. Exactly the same kind of goal. It's identical. Didn't take us long, though, to get back in the lead. And a great hit from Deli Bashiro. Gets it on the edge of the box. Just gives himself a little bit of room. Turns, shoots. And it's just a lovely little bit of a shot which goes low into the bottom corner. It's 2-1. And you're like, right, we can go on and get something from here. But then again, it's another cross in. It's another header. It's another goal. It looks like it's a really good save by Stockdale to push it onto the bar. But it goes in. It's in. It's in the net. It looks like it would bundle over, but it's one of those things. It's another cross. Another header, another goal. And that got to change. That got to stop. It 2 crosses, 2 headers, 2 goals. What is going on? Why can we not defend crosses? It really does my head in. And it does your guys' head in as well, and people who watch. And then it's 3-2. Again, same again. Cross in, Coley Bishop, 3-man, 3-2. And you're like, that got to be down to coaching. That can't be anything but coaching. For it to be in the same defence with different players for me. It got to come down to coaching. But Delhi makes it 3-3. It's a great turn and shot. Not turn and shot. You get it, the ball comes to him, shoots, great goal. 3-3. And then right near the end, we have a little bit of an issue. A lot of time wasting from Pompey as well, which ain't good. The keeper goes down, and then Danny Cowley calls all the players. There was 7 minutes of that time as well. And then 94th minute, it just went odd. Lee Gregory brings his man down. He's already on a yellow. It's very close to the penalty box. They get a free kick. A lot of people don't know what's going on. Stockdale gets a yellow, apparently, for slamming the ball, and then Lee Gregory gets sent off, so we're going to be without Gregory for a second bookable offence. And yeah, the game ends 3-3. Great first half, shocking second half in defending, and that needs to get fixed ASAP. And hopefully it does get fixed ASAP, because we can't keep doing this, or we're going to have the same issue we had last season from having to make ground up from conceding goals.
Today, it's all about our League One predictions. So every single year on this channel, not on this podcast, but on this channel that this podcast is hosted on, I do a league prediction of whatever League Wednesday you're in. I'm not doing that this year. I'm doing it on the podcast. Oh, this is a breakout. So hello.
Hello, breakout.
This is a video
viewers.
now.
Nice
and
to
this
meet
is
you.
our League One predictions. However, it's not just me this time. I'm joined by Worko. We've also got some of Jake's suggestions in there. So we've got a well thought out.
Absolutely.
A
Professional
thought
outfit.
out.
No.
Exactly.
It's well thought out. Don't go knocking this yet. That voice break, oh my word. Don't go knocking this yet, Dex, all right? It's very well thought out and very well, it's been planned like a military operation. It's wonderful.
It's a prediction video. So everybody's going to cry anyway.
Video.
Everybody always cries at these.
Absolutely.
There's always somebody. Right.
Especially when they hear my predictions.
Yeah.
But
This'll... Oh,
there's some interesting ones.
Interesting.
Yes.
So, we're going to start at the bottom of the league.
Bottom of the league.
League One, 24th place. I have got... Actually, we'll start with who Jake have got, shall we?
Yes.
So
Let's start with who Jake's got.
Jake's got Port Vale. I have got Port Vale. Who have you got?
I have got Port Vale.
Oh, Christ. No.
We're sorry, Port Vale fans. Please pleasantly surprise us, okay? That's all I will say.
Right. It's very hard when you're looking at the predictions and you put the promoted teams in the relegation spots. But Port Vale, out of all of them, I just don't see them having enough to establish themselves this season. It might be a case of they need to go down, keep not sort of shed off the strength and come back up and do that re-strengthening of the squad a little while. Because obviously I want to see promoted sides coming in and establish themselves in higher up leagues, work their way through. But at the minute, looking at the transfer window and looking at where they're at and looking at compared to the other teams that came up, I do see them at the bottom of the league. However, there usually is something that against
There's
that.
always a wild
but if
card,
I was
always.
Yeah, there is. So, but it's interesting to see that we all put Port Vale there. So you're fighting for it, Port Vale, but
yeah,
why not?
Prove us wrong. This is like the gauntlet to say prove us wrong. You know.
23rd. Jake's got Morecambe. Who have you got?
I've also got Morecambe. This is what I was saying before the podcast, listeners. We were discussing this. Jake and I have got very similar league tables in a lot of ways, and it's quite interesting that we've come to that conclusion. But yes, who have you got?
I've got Bristol Rovers.
Oh.
So I think they've done okay business, but it's only okay. I think is it Marquise? I think that's how you say it.
Marquise.
He isn't a bad signing for them, but he'll need. But he only got 5 goals from last season. Even can't get my words out, and I think that team are really going to have to get it all together if they're going to stay up. So I do have them in 23rd there. Why have you put Morecambe there, in your opinion?
I just think they didn't do too well last season, if I remember rightly. I could be totally wrong.
I thought they were going to do a lot worse, in fairness.
But it's one of those feelings where they potentially overachieved, maybe, depending on the squad they have. Again, please don't come for us in the comments. It's just an opinion. I know they will. Don't
even bother. Honestly, we'll say that every time and they will.
I just think that it was a bit of an overachievement last season, and I think that they will do very well to avoid my relegation. Once again, please prove me wrong. Please do it.
Fair enough.
That's what I'm saying.
23rd, Jake. 22nd, sorry. Jake 22nd. Had Forest Green. Ooh. Who did you have?
I had my local nearby team, Burton Albion. I don't know why I pointed that way, because that's not even the right way to Burton. But Burton
we've
Albion.
all got different teams. I've got Exeter City, which is another one of the promoted sides. So I've got 3 of them in the relegation zone so far, which is not ideal, is it, really? I want to hear your reasoning for Burton first.
I just don't think they've got enough to stay up this season. I think they're a bit of a tired side, and I think they're in the similar way that you were saying about Port Vale. I think a rebuild is needed and is coming, because I don't know if they've got enough in them to have another fight this year, because they've gone from fighting for their life in the Championship very quickly declining, and they've lost a lot of their key players over the last couple of years who definitely were their sort of marquee signings, or whatever, however you want to describe that. And I just don't necessarily. I think this is maybe the year where it's the sort of the eye-opening season that they need to kind of have a revamp and a rethink of on-field things. Off-field, I'm sure that it's quite a well-run club. I don't know much about it from that perspective, but on the field, they need to have a bit of a revamp, I think, and I think that's going to cost them a little bit. Only just, though. I would say that it'll be like a final day type scrap situation for them, I think, personally. But yes.
Fair enough.
So how about
Fair
you?
enough.
How about you?
I went with Exeter there because I just don't think they're strengthened quickly enough. They might still. Obviously, we're doing these before the transfer window shuts, so it's always difficult there. They might have that strength from being because they were obviously runners-up last year.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
I do know, for example, from a Wednesday perspective, Dawson was big for them last year. And we've got Dawson back at Wednesday now.
Who's going to be fighting for the number one shirt, which is, I think, why there's not a number one, but that's a whole later topic for this podcast.
That's anyway. A Wednesday thing, yeah. But
yeah.
With Exeter, I think them losing their goalkeeper who did very well for them is not going to be ideal when you're trying to stay up. So yeah, I've got Exeter in 22nd. Interesting, we all went differently there. So 21st,
however,
go on. Carry on.
But I would say, however, they weren't entirely dependent on Dawson. There was a very good team around him and in front of him. Yeah. He was only doing his duty as a shot stopper, really.
I just don't think they've done
It wasn't him that was carrying him. It wasn't like us with being carried by Chris Kirkland to avoid relegation from the Championship. It wasn't the case of that for them. It was actually, they had a very good team in front of them, and Dawson just did his... He was, in my opinion, he was too good for League Two, and that was purely a confidence loan for him, to be honest, because he was getting a lot of stick, and I think it was just to boost his confidence back up again to then kick on this season for us, you know. But
I just don't think they've done. I don't think they've done. On top of it, I've got that with just the fact that on paper doesn't look like the business is as strong as some other teams in that regard. So it's difficult. Predictions are a lot of on paper.
Absolutely.
So they could come up with that momentum, you know. 21st, which obviously, remember, in League One is the 4th relegation drop because 4 teams drop.
Who did Jake have, by the way? Did we say who Dex had?
So
who Dex? I'm doing it again.
You sacked workout. 22nd was Forest Green. In 21st, he's got Fleetwood.
Right.
Who have you got?
I've also got Fleetwood.
I've gone for a wild card here.
Oh, really?
I've got Lincoln City.
Wow.
I think I'll speak about
that.
I'll speak about Lincoln City first. Can I just preface this with I quite like Lincoln City. I always have said this.
Same.
But they've brought quite a few players in, but I just can't see them kicking on this season. You know, previous seasons, they seemed like they were building towards something and they've kind of dropped off. And I'm not convinced that it's not just going to take a downward trajectory. So I tried this season to put a wild card in that relegation spots. And if I was looking at the way the season fared last season with the hopes of this season with the new signings and the way the squad's changed for Lincoln City, I've put them in 21st. They could drop, but again, they might not. So,
and to further your point there, I think a lot of that was down to Appleton, and now that he's gone, I think that driving vision has gone with him, and that's probably why they had the lull, because he went. Who was it? It was a Championship club, wasn't it, that he went to? Blackpool. It was Blackpool, wasn't it?
Possibly.
I think it was Blackpool. I think so. I think I remember seeing. Yeah. Anyway, but I think it was the case of a bit like Doncaster Rovers when we got Darren Moore. A lot of their sort of driving vision departed along with him, And that's probably why they had the lull. And so now they're going to struggle, I think, until they get an equally as strong-willed manager in place to then,
kick on
and get back to where they were going and stuff.
I think, it was Blackpool, by the way.
Yes.
Good shout. But yeah, so you and Jake both went for Fleetwood here. Why was that?
Again, they did well last season, but a bit tired.
They didn't. They finished 20th.
Well, this is my point. They did well to stop up, is what I'm saying.
Oh, right. Okay.
And they did very well to do that, but I don't think that lightning will strike twice in their case. I think that, unfortunately, it will be the drop for them this season. Which, again, similar to Burton, I think they need to look at a real shake-up on the field, because it's been a very stagnant kind of few years for them, right? So I just think it's a bit of the sort of the kick up the backside, as they say, that they might need to then kick on and come back again. But there we go. I'm just a Sheffield Wednesday fan. My opinion means absolutely nothing to all of you out there who are not Sheffield Wednesday fans. So I do apologise if I've insulted you with
You could try to stop the hate in this comment section as much as you want.
I know,
but it will not occur.
I'm just trying to be respectful, because I'm saying you're going to get relegated, Sonny Jims,
I've said it to Lincoln, who I actually like as a club, so it happens, Okay, so in 20th then, Jake's gone for Cambridge. Who have you gone for?
Also Cambridge. I did tell you we've got a very similar league table,
That's it. No, it's interesting because I've put Cambridge close to this, but I've gone for Forest Green Rovers in 20th.
Right.
They are the ones that I think they'll be all right. I think their run from last season, I think their momentum will keep. I think if there was going to be a team that managed to do it and stay up, I reckon it will be them with the momentum from last season. They looked decent at parts. I've seen it. I saw a little bit of them. I've got some friends who are Forest Green fans. So I've picked them to stay up there. I've put them in 20th. Why have you gone Cambridge?
Well, from seeing them last season, they reminded me very much of Sheffield Wednesday under Jos Luhukay. And because of how we did in the Championship under Jos Luhukay, I am sort of envisioning that it will be the similar sort of case for them. And because they didn't seem, how do I say this without sounding like a horrible person? They didn't seem on the money that they could beat absolutely anybody in the league. A bit like when you get to the Championship, anybody can beat anybody. They didn't seem like they had that energy about them. They didn't seem. I think if I remember rightly, it was quite a dominant performance by Wednesday against those. Or did we? Yeah, I think so. I was loosely following.
It was frustrating at points. I remember. There's a few teams
they did frustrate as well,
and frustrated.
I just think
no, they beat us in the. No, that was 2016. 1 second, carry on.
But
carry on.
They just struck me as a team that they're not going to do the best in the world, and they probably would expect to be a little bit higher. But I think that will possibly be on their level for them this season. Once again, please prove me wrong, okay?
That'll be the frustration. We drew with them at their place in October. I remember that'll be where the frustration came in.
Yes.
Because we were going for those runs
they were very good at frustrating teams last year. And exactly.
And then the reverse fixture.
They beat us, didn't they? That's that laugh.
No, I just remember which one it was. We beat them 6-0.
Oh, it was that game. Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Once again, this is why I'm saying they are. I remember now. That's why I said they were 20th.
Well, quite close. We're going to 19th place. I might as well talk about them because I've put them in 19th. So I think they will settle because they have been promoted recently. I don't think they'll have second season syndrome and go down. I think they will suffer a dip further this season though, because they've kept a lot of the team together, but they've not added much. Right? They've got the Hornstrap in for Iredale as well at left back. I don't know if I'm pronouncing those names right, but. They've got the swap there. This lad's coming from
Adeniran for quite a long time.
All right, Jack. Thank you.
Sorry.
Who have you got in 19th? Because Jake has got
Exeter City by any chance? Yes, I've also gone.
Have you just copied Jake's list?
No, genuinely, I was shocked when we had such a similar list. But basically, I think that there's the momentum factor because they came up second place, right? Am I talking out my backside here?
Yes, they did.
I think there's the momentum factor here, and a lot of teams. I know this is really clutching at a straw right now, but when a team goes up second, they typically do better than the team that went up first or that came through the playoffs. Typically,
you've gone from full-on stats base there, haven't you?
Yeah, literally. We did it. We beat the drop. Others that came up with us when we, last got promoted from League One, we did it, right?
Yeah.
Charlton went back down. I can't remember who came up through the playoffs, but I'm pretty sure they didn't do very well. Or maybe they did. It was so long ago. But typically, teams that went up second have done better than teams that were champions or were playoff people. So that's why I've factored in that logic into my decision with Exeter City in 19th. There you go.
I can see what you're saying there, because there's also a thing. If you win the league, you've kind of got that, we didn't really have to fight.
We won the league.
We won
yeah.
The fight that goes from chasing it or not quite making it is prominent.
You're more up for it in the next season to say, right, well, you beat us to the championship of this league. We're going to do better than you next season, and that there's that fire in the furnace effect. It's like, right, we just missed out. We're not going to miss out again. We're staying up. It's that attitude, and I think that Exeter might have this season. So
in 18th.
Mm-hmm.
Jake had Bristol Rovers. Who did you have?
I've got Forest Green.
You put Forest Green there?
I put Forest Green. Maybe I'm biased because as a geography graduate, I'm very eco-warrior, very about the environment. And Forest Green, I just always want to do well vegans. Because they really think about the environment in everything they do. Sorry that I hit the microphone there. In everything they do. I'm a very visual talker anyway. But they're just a very good club with good intentions, and I just want them to succeed and do well, so that's why I've put them in 18th. It's an emotional decision more than anything, but yes, there we go.
No footballing merit whatsoever, is it? I just want them to do well, so I'm going to stick them there.
I'm going to stick them there.
Well, I put Burton in 18th, so they signed Adebayo from Barnsley. They've shipped out a lot of dead wood. I'm not convinced they're going to kick on, but I don't pin them for relegation, in my opinion. So I know you had them down for the drop. I don't think they'll have a great season, but I don't put them.
They may have shipped out dead wood, but at the same time, I don't know if it's enough to have.
They've brought in a couple, but again, the standout for me was probably Adebayo from Barnsley. So I think that's how you say it. Again, 17th. Jake had Cheltenham. Who did you have?
Do I even need to speak?
You had Cheltenham.
I had Cheltenham.
I've got Accrington Stanley. We're not doing a who are they joke this time. I don't know. They were a weird one to place, Accrington Stanley. They've signed that 34-year-old right winger from Shrewsbury, that Sean Wally. It's probably Wally or Whaley.
Whaley.
But they did all right last season. I've pinned them as one of the teams that to not have that wobble this season. So I think I've put them in a very solid 17th. But why have you gone Cheltenham?
Similar reason to Jake, really. I must admit, please don't hurt me, viewers, but a lot of this mid-table, I sort of just placed at random. My phone has just fallen down. I do apologise for the visual. Right. I sort of just placed at random. I didn't really go for a well logically thought out, except for 16th, but I didn't go for a well thought out order particularly. I just sort of thought that fits. But, there we go.
Mid-table is difficult in League One.
It's difficult. It's difficult, isn't it? I sound like such an elitist, horrible person because he supports a former championship club that came down the year before last. Ha ha ha. No, that's not why I did this at all. I didn't know where to put them, quite frankly. So there you go. That's where I've put them.
Who did you put in 16th then? Because you said you thought about this.
Charlton.
Jake put Jake also put Charlton. This is where I put Fleetwood. Now, we've already spoken about Fleetwood, so I just want to quickly talk about it before you go on to Charlton. So,
of course.
They finished 20th last season, Fleetwood. However, the business hasn't been terrible. They've brought in Josh Earl. They've brought in a couple of Joshes, Josh Earl, Josh Vella. They might do all right. I think they won't have second season syndrome. But then now I've spoken to you and talked a bit to Jake about this as well. They might be one of the ones that do. But I looked on paper, it looks like they've done the business to avoid that after, because they proved a lot of people wrong. And also, I have put in the notes here, I'm putting them 15th because I was quite mean to them last season. I was quite mean to them in the predictions. And yeah, they did well. So
trying to avoid hate, are we? Trying to avoid. I see your tactic. Exactly, I see that. Go on then. I see that.
Charlton, no, that's not them.
No,
that's not them. I'm lying.
Wow,
that's the next team I was quite mean to.
Caught in 4K. Wow.
I don't render in 4K. It's too much hassle. But yes, Fleetwood 16th. You've got Charlton. Why have you got Charlton there?
Because there's a bit of, I don't know. It's slightly an emotional decision because I've always thought that they were sort of the Rotherham or the Barnsley of the South in terms of temperament of fan bases on social media, and but I also don't think that they've strengthened enough. Really, I'm just not a big fan. So I was sort of like, yes, there you go. And Charlton fans,
you might like me a little bit more. Just hold the keyboard, all right?
Hold the keyboard, all right? The co-host, I'm dead to you now. There you go. But Charlton 16th, and it was a bit of a...
Should we move on to 15th before you get pelted?
Yes, let's move on to 15th, please.
I put Morecambe here because I was quite mean to them last season. This is the one where I don't have anyone to place in 15th, so we're going to go for a wild card and Morecambe. Again, you could probably swap Lincoln and Morecambe here because that's how wild cards work in league table predictions.
Absolutely.
Their business has been questionable. I've literally put here their business has been questionable, so they could easily finish lower. But I'm putting them in 15th. Just because I can. Jake had Accrington Stanley. Who did you have?
Who are they?
Carry on.
I also had them in 15th.
Oh, for God's sake.
See what I mean?
Should we move on? 14th.
Let's just... 14th.
14th.
Otherwise, this section's going to be forever, isn't it?
Jake had Shrewsbury Town. Who did you have?
I had Shrewsbury Town.
I had Shrewsbury Town. Hey! So... my reasoning for that, I've just distorted the mic, apologies. It's got a limiter on it when we distort. It will be compressed distortion, which is fantastic.
Oh, yes.
They finished 18th last season, but as far as I can see, they've only really strengthened this season in the window. Not ridiculous amounts, but they've signed Dunkley from us too, and we know Dunkley on his day can be a very good signing. So if they keep him fit, he's going to be a good signing for them. He's solid at centre-back. For a League One side especially, I think they could finish in 14th. That's where my thinking was around it.
For me, he was right player, wrong time, in my opinion. But yes, there we go. Because, sorry to go off on a tangent slightly, but he signed for us and came back earlier than he was told to for the purpose of trying to stop us getting relegated. The doctors were telling him, no, you need longer recovery time. That's why he was so out of shape or seemingly out of compos mentis with, football, with his on the pitch, with, his mental side of the game, because he came back earlier. He wasn't match fit in the slightest. And that's why he was a bit slower than he normally was, because physically his leg was still in the healing process. So that's the kind of mentality he had. And anyway, I could speak a lot about how much I respect that guy.
Yeah, I got a lot of respect for the player as well. Yeah. He seems like a good guy.
Anyway, But that was my tangent. Sorry about that.
No, that's all right. So that's 14th. We've all agreed on 14th 13th. At least. 13th, Jake had Burton. So we've already spoke about Burton Albion. Who did you have? Finally. Apologies for my hiccup if they might pick that up.
I've got the Gasmen. I've got Bristol Rovers.
Okay. I've got Plymouth, but why have you put Bristol Rovers so high?
I just think that they've got what it takes to kick on a bit more. The motivational factor, they did well last year, and I don't see why they can't do it again. Because I think that with the belief when you see it from the outsider's perspective, you look on social media, you look on news sites, everything, they seem to have that real strong core mentality of we're doing well, we are successful. And I think that there's going to be definitely a kick-on effect from the promotion last year, in my opinion. And I think that they're going to do very well and finish, 13th. I could be totally wrong. But I just think that they've got it in them up here, and they've got it, cohesively as a team. Because you don't have to be the best players in the world. You need to work well as a team, and you can finish very high. Look at Sheffield United. Sorry to bring them up. Look at Sheffield United when they got to the Premier League and how they stayed up that year. They weren't Premier League players, which is why they came down the very next year. But they worked well as a team, and that's how they managed to stay up, quite frankly. And, I think it's going to be the same for Bristol Rovers. So there we go. That's my hot take.
I can see that. I've put Plymouth here, which is possibly a controversial one for a few people. However, I think they're on a downward trajectory, and I've not seen enough to get them out of it. So they could really struggle this season if they don't get their act together and make sure they kick on after, because they started to plummet at the end of last season. And the manager's situation, there's not that buzz that there was before. Do you know when Ryan Lowe and Ryan there was Lowe, that? Yeah. I worry about them for this season. I don't think they've kicked on with their current business, and I've put them in 13th, thinking they could probably have a mixed season. But again, they could be a team that if they can get their act together, they were a good side. They were bloody. Oh yeah, loved to beat us 3-0.
But that was in a time when Wednesday hadn't gelled, if you remember rightly. So not to be all like, we're Wednesday fans, but it was at the time when the team wasn't really understanding.
Yes, I can never say
we really
that
are. It's great.
Caricatures. There we go. 12th is where I had Cheltenham Town. I put that they finished 15th last season, but they've had quite a few outgoings, but they seem to be propping up their squad with loans again. So they've kind of if their loans can pay off again, I reckon they can actually kick on even further, because they brought in players across quite a lot of. They've got quite a bit of depth there, by the looks of it. So I've put them in 12th because I think they've done enough. Who have you got in 12th? Jake had
Lincoln City. Was it by any chance?
Jake had Lincoln City.
I also had Lincoln City, because the quality of the players there has not diminished. The manager may have gone, and like you were saying earlier, that had a big effect on them. But I still don't think that they're in the sort of downward trajectory from that would cause them to be even lower down the table. I still do think they've got a lot of ability in the side, which is, I think, why they would probably finish more or less, bang on mid-table. Because they just need, if they get that manager who can really push them on, they will be a lot higher, in my opinion. But currently, in the current club climate there, 12th is probably about where they would be in my book. But yeah.
No, that's fair. Yeah. I've obviously got them as my wildcard relegation, but that will be interesting to see how that plays out.
11th. A lot of hatred on this if that doesn't happen. Oh boy.
I always do. We'll see. 11th, Jake had Bolton. Did you have Bolton?
I also had Bolton. Again,
why have you put Bolton there? Because I've put Bolton in 10th, by the way. So it's 10th. We're close, and I've put they've only brought 3 in, because Bolton fans think they want to push for promotion. They want to go back up through the leagues, don't they? And they have actually brought in Iredale, their left back from Cambridge, on a free, so that he's gone to Bolton to kick on. I just don't think they've got enough to breach anything. I put them in the top 10, but why have you put them in 11th? Why don't you think they'll go higher than that this season?
I just think with the squad they had, I think it was sort of like I don't know how to phrase it in terms of not TOS, that's the wrong word, but in terms of being friendly to the algorithm, SH1T or bust. I think it was a bit of that last year, and I think that the squad needs that little edge, more je ne sais quoi, to be able to properly go up, so I think there's still a little bit of extra needed things. They may have Kieran Lee carrying them in midfield, and I love that man. And
he's their longest serving player, by the way.
He's their longest serving player? Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
It's mental, isn't it?
Mental.
In 11th,
that's actually baffled me. But sorry, carry on.
It's all right. It's all right. We've got a bit more if there is a bit more latency over us speaking over each other, it's because me and Worko worked out we've got slightly different latency than I usually have with Jake. But it's just one of those things.
Internet things.
Internets, yeah. So, in 11th, I had Oxford United. I won't read what I wrote about this because they really annoyed me when I watched them play Wednesday. I might have put they play this awful brand of League One football somewhere in there, but they don't always, you see, because I chatted to their fans about this when we played.
Oxford fans, welcome to the comment section.
When we played them, right, I'd been speaking to fans in the lead up. We were trying to get podcast facts, and they were like, "Oh yeah, we tend to try and play football and stuff like that." And then they rocked up at Hillsborough, shoved 10 men behind the ball, and just didn't play football. And then the fans went, "We don't play like that every week, I promise." So all I've really seen of Oxford is them doing that.
Football is Steve Evans football. Yeah.
Yeah. But I think they're a good side. They're a good side for the level, and they can kick on. I've put them. I don't think they'll do better than they would last season. But they have brought Josh Murphy in, which could be the wild card if they can get him fit.
Can I just, for a League One signing of somebody like Oxford, that is mental. That is crazy. League One,
don't teams like anybody. Don't. But you mean for this level, that signing? Yeah.
For this level, that signing, that's mental. Like, I mean, we got Will Volks, and that's also mental because he would have been off to another, surely he would have been off to another championship promotion contender, but I guess he just wanted football, didn't he? So,
yeah,
there we go.
We go from, by the way, here, we've done our 10th. Oh, no, we haven't. Who did you have in 10th?
At Wickham.
So we do go from one anti-football to another. I've got Wickham in 9th. So we're close again. We're closing in on our predictions here. Because for Wickham, if you've got them in 10th, the reason I've got them in 9th, doing slightly better, is I say that I feel like the good luck might run out a little bit. Their good run might come to an end. Mm-hmm. We know their play style, and more clubs know it now. And they're not making the signings to progress this season, in my opinion. I don't know if that's where your head's at.
They've absolutely hemorrhaged their key players from last season.
Yeah, we've got their keeper.
Just hemorrhaging. Yeah, precisely. Golden Glove winner, you know? They were absolutely hemorrhaging players at the start of the window, and I also don't like their style of football, so I just wanted to
I really like the club after the
they're so nice. Back then. Honestly, their fan base, wonderful, lovely people, such a lovely fan base. It's just a shame that on the pitch, this video, it's anti-football.
Yeah, it is, and I bet they're sick of that, and I bet they've sort of. Then again, fans end up holding it up as a badge of honour, so they probably love it in the end. So Wickham both, so 9th for me, 10th for you. Who did you have in? Jake also had Wickham in 10th, by the way. Mm-hmm. Interestingly, in 9th, Jake put Derby. Who did you have in 9th?
This is what I wanted to slightly elaborate a little bit more on, right? So I've got Derby as well, but I think that them and Ipswich, so spoiler alert, I've got Ipswich in 2nd, but I think that Derby and Ipswich are interchangeable. I think both of those clubs, with how they've done business, could either do very well and gel very quickly, because both clubs have signed a lot of players this summer, like Ipswich did last season, and Ipswich didn't do too well last season compared to what they probably expected to do because of how many... just the volume of players that came in the building and how long it took for all of that to gel together. But we managed that. We managed to gel together, not to boast.
I tell you what, anyway, then, because that's a controversial one. We'll put a pin in that. We'll speak about Derby when I get to them in my list, because obviously I have got them faring a little bit better. So in 8th, Jake had Plymouth. Obviously, I had them further down. Who have you got in 8th? Plymouth. Okay, we spoke quite a bit about Plymouth, actually, so we don't need to put why there. Yeah. In 8th, I got Peterborough United. Now, I think they're going to be the team that comes down and struggles initially, which is why I think they're going to have... Again, this could be Derby, do you know what I mean? But Peterborough haven't strengthened like Derby have, because Derby had to. They had to buy a new team. They had to have a team, for example.
We say buy. They're not allowed to buy anybody that's like us.
You know what I mean? Yeah. But their signings haven't been amazing. It's a competitive league this season. I think they're going to get hit a bit by it when they come down. So
Yeah.
I still think they'll do all right, but I've got them in 8th. So 7th, Jake's gone Oxford. We spoke about Oxford there. Have you gone Oxford?
Because, I think, right, so I think they're a little bit of a dark horse in terms of doing well, because I think they've got an excellent central midfield, and that's going to be crucial with how they play. That's going to be a crucial thing, because Cameron Brannigan...
that's true.
I would sign him in a heartbeat, Cameron Brannigan, for our midfield, but he's pretty much their, like, he's like their Scott Twine, in my opinion. He's like, how MK had Scott Twine last year. For me, Cameron Brannigan is their equivalent of a Scott Twine linchpin. Everything relies on him, in my opinion, and I think that's, with their style of play, that's why they will do as well as I've predicted them to do. So, yeah. There you go.
No, that's fair. Yeah. That is fair. I've got Charlton there. So I've got them
higher opinion of them than me, I see.
Yeah. You and Jake are on the same wavelength. Though I'm the outlier this time. They finished 13th last season, but despite quite a lot of outgoings, they've done decent business across quite a few areas on the pitch. It'd be interesting to see how Steven Sessegnon gets on his second loan spell into League One as well. Bit more experience. He didn't really uproot any trees last season when he was at Plymouth, but they've made some good signings across the board there. I'm not going to go through it and break it all down. We've spoken about Charlton, but I've got them just in that race for playoffs, because there we go. That's why I said put a pin in it, Charlton. You won't hate me as much.
And of course, if you're a FIFA enjoyer, if you're a FIFA connoisseur, speaking of Steven Sessegnon, he's also got a very high potential if you want to sign him on a career mode.
Indeed.
Because we do like to talk about being FIFA connoisseurs on this channel.
We do.
But there you go.
We do. I had a day off the other day, and I think I just sat and played like 4 seasons. Which is really, really just like stays where my mental state's at. When
do you need
like,
some therapy?
All I can process, I was so tired. I was like, all I can process is FIFA and not thinking.
Yep.
Yeah. So in 6th, making the playoffs for Jake. Jake's got Portsmouth in 6th. I have got Barnsley. Who have you got?
I have also got Portsmouth, because I think, although again interchangeable with Ipswich, because I think Portsmouth are, controversially, our key rivals this year. I think that's who it's going to be down to us and Portsmouth for the top, because they've done very good business.
I like that you've said that, and I'll tell you why later. Carry on.
Yeah, I think that they're actually our key rivals, and not Ipswich, not Barnsley, not MK, not Derby. It's Portsmouth for me, and
Portsmouth are slipping under radar a little bit, aren't they?
100%. But I think that I've just put them in at 6th because I just think they're too much of a unknown quantity and slipping under the radar a bit too much to maybe say 2nd or even 1st. But I've not said 1st, because you know who I've said 1st. You know who I've gone with for 1st. But I just think they're too much of a dark horse to be able to sort of like put any higher than maybe 6th.
Yeah. I've gone Barnsley in 6th because I don't think Barnsley are going to have a very good time. They could be lower, right? But they might have that fight back mentality and scrape the playoffs this season. They've had 11 players leave. 11 players. They've brought in James Norwood, who scored 6 in the league for Ipswich last season. He's obviously 31 and he's got a lot of league experience in League One. They brought in Conor McCarthy, who's a decent centre back. They've lost 11 and brought in 6. You could say they've strengthened and they've got rid of some.
Yeah.
I don't know. Barnsley, ever since they, what's his name, lost the manager that got him to playoffs.
Was it the German guy?
It's the guy who went to West Brom. Whatever his name was, I forgot it off the top of my head.
Steve Bruce? I'm kidding. No, it wasn't.
But it was just down for Barnsley after that. And if they can fight back and scrape 6th and get in the playoff run, or even they might surprise a few this season, we'll see what happens. But I wouldn't put them as a strong contender. But it's putting them in 6th is backing them pretty well, to be fair. Jake had Portsmouth there. In 5th, Jake had Peterborough. I've already spoke about Peterborough. Did you have Peterborough there?
I
think they'll make the playoffs?
I think they're effectively going to be us last year, if that makes sense.
Okay.
They're going to I think they'll have a similar journey to how to our experience last year.
I don't think they will because of the business. Really? Because if you think about the rebuild we did, we got rid of a lot of the negativity. We still had some defensive mistakes and things like that, but the actual mentality of that relegation mentality had gone because we shipped off a lot of the players that didn't want to be there, and we had that Darren Moore overhaul. So that's why I've not gone for them. However, I have gone for a team who have had that overhaul. I've put Derby in 5th. So their fans do seem to think they're winning the league.
That's why I've put them 9th. They need an ego check. I'm sorry.
They could,
but I know a lot of Derby fans, and that's why I've got the opinion I have, because they've signed so many people and they could go either way and everything. But yes,
I can't not put them in the playoffs though. If you look at their business, like the reason I've not put them in the run for the automatics is because that gelling phase is crucial in League One. It killed us. It's the reason we didn't get automatics, because we were awful as the team started to gel and inconsistent all over the shop. And you could arguably say that carried on through the season as we changed things around. So Derby, they've brought in Hurahan. Just to name a few here, Hurahan, Mendes Langen, if you play him as an actual winger and he doesn't have to track back, don't get him to track back. He don't do it. He might do all right. Hayden Roberts, who we're looking at centre-back, that could be a decent loan. Wildsmith is a good keeper, right?
Oh, yeah,
I don't know.
He is.
I don't know.
Hands down,
he should be their number one looking at their keepers, by the way.
Absolutely.
James Chester, Stoke, I know he's 34, but like in terms of the experience at centre-back, and Barkhusen, the FIFA man, the 91 pace FIFA man that I used for a long time, like from Preston. They're just a few of the signings because they've had to do their rebuild. Their manager situation is a concern. Will he have it? Their pre-season's been woeful, kind of like ours, but you can't write them off from having a half decent season, in my opinion.
However, just to play devil's advocate here, right? Do you not think that the players they have and they've signed and everything, do you not think that it's too much of a team of individuals rather than a team of players who will have that mentality, who will gel together, who will work together and work their backsides off for one another, like ours is? Do you not think that there's too much? And the arrogance factor. Not only the fans think it, the players probably think that too. With the players they've signed and the sort of the egos coming off Conor Hourihane has just spent several years in the Premier League. James Chester, many years in the Premier League. You know, the ego's there, the arrogance that will be there of thinking we're just going to walk this league. That's what killed us at the beginning as well, I think. But the arrogance that might be there will surely factor in, because when they're getting kicked lumps out of them and there's anti-football being played against them left, right and centre, they're going to struggle because they want to play a certain way of football, and with teams who are going to be very good at counteracting that. That's why I've said 9th again, because I think that arrogance factor is going to be costly to them personally. And yeah, so that's my take on it, I think, and devil's advocate opinion.
No, it's fair. I do see what you're saying. I think the big thing about that for me, what you've just said actually, is we had a manager that galvanised the team.
Exactly.
And the one thing that Darren Moore has said over and over again, and the players have said they want to come in and play for the manager. Exactly. Their manager went to America, you know, and
brought Ravel Morrison with him. He's gone to DC United as well, by the way.
How
Ravel Morrison
still getting a bloody
mate?
I think Derby, if best case scenario, they kick on, they get automatics, obviously.
Yeah.
However, I think the more realistic situation is if they do kick on, they'll have that gelling phase, and if they do gel and they do all get on, and it's not an individual team, they'll make the playoffs, and they'll probably go up through them if they can kick on. But it's going to be more difficult than they thought. Watch this now; they will win the league with 100 points.
Don't say that. You're doing us a disservice, all right? But you know, I'm just saying. Not
it's
to
right,
be
spoilery
we'll about who I've got as first, but you know.
In 4th, Jake had MK Dons. I had Ipswich Town. Who did you have?
I had MK. I think that while sure Scott, look, let's be realistic. Scott Twine carried them through a lot of last season. He's gone, but they've done very well to replace him. Not as well as kicking on to get the automatics, which they probably might want to do, but they're still they're still a team that I do think will have a very good rebound. We're not, you see, they'll have a thing to prove, to tell everybody, we're not just Scott Twine FC. we are a team as well. And I think that factor is also going to factor into why they do well this season. Not automatics well, not at all. But I do think they're going to finish quite highly up. And
I've put them bang in the same place. I've put them in third. So I put them as finishing the same. And my argument for MK was they've lost Twine, which would mean they're much further down, which would mean they could end up much further down in the league if it does prove to be Scott Twine FC. But they were a solid side anyway last season, and they've signed the likes of Will Grigg and Nathan Holland amongst more to try and strengthen.
We beat them easily enough.
We won't do it this season now you've said that. But yeah, in fourth I had Ipswich Town. I assume you've got them in second.
Yeah, I've got them second, just because I think that... Oh, yeah, sorry.
We'll talk about Ipswich for a second. Yeah. So I think they keep signing decent players to add to their previous signings last season because they did a really good window and then they didn't gel. They were an example of not gelling FC. But then on top of that, they brought in like Leif Davis from Leeds, Ladapo from Rotherham, who we will link with again, Harness from Portsmouth, amongst others, and they could have a real go with it.
Absolutely.
They are an odd one, though, because they did finish 11th last season, but it is about gel with them. But I've put them getting in the playoffs.
They took too long to gel.
You've backed them to promote then, so second.
Yeah, I think they've had the gelling. The whole season last season was probably their gelling period, and then the business that they've done on top of that. But again, it could be another season where they're like, oh, there's a lot of new players again this season that have come in. And again, Portsmouth are a dark horse, so I'd make them interchangeable. But again, Ipswich, they've done very good business, and the calibre of the player for League One is very high that they've signed. Arguably championship players, quite a lot of them. But that's why I've said, you know what, that was the gelling period last season. Let's have them. Let's give them a bit of credit, and put them in second. So yeah.
Yeah. I had them winning the league last season, and they massively let me down, so they're not getting automatics. In second. Oh, well, in third, I had MK Dons, by the way. So
I had Barnsley in third.
You had Barnsley. You think they're going to do all right then?
I know this is controversial as a Wednesday fan, but I used to play a lot of cricket out in Barnsley, and I've always had a bit of a soft spot for the people out there. So it was a bit like my Forest Green thing. It was more of an emotional thing. Like, I understand the Dingles where it's like direct rival, whatever, but. I don't think they're going to do badly. I think there will be a bounce back period because, they always do well. They're very much a yo-yo club, and I just don't see why that trend would not continue this year. So
yeah, no, that I could see that. That makes sense. I in second. Have got where you got Ipswich. I've got Portsmouth.
Portsmouth.
So.
Portsmouth, again, Portsmouth very well. I keep hitting the microphone anyway, but Portsmouth very well could be second in my opinion, either playoffs or whatever. They're going to be up there, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sorry to interrupt, but yeah.
No, it's a case of I've been impressed with their business, right? Mm-hmm. I wanted to give them a wild card place in second because they brought in Pack, Rafferty, I can never say this. Olawajemi, Michael Morrison, and Dane Scarlett, who is a prospect. Mate, they like their young prospects.
I've been preaching so much that we need to sign Dane Scarlett on loan because he's got a lot of talent, and he's the one that we like. Forget talking about friggin' George Hurst last year. I'm sorry, but that was silly. That was really silly. But Dane Scarlett is there. That he's going to be their absolute top scorer by a mile, potentially even League One top scorer, because he's got bags of talent.
And if you're talking about
future England Harry Kane replacement, whatever, in my opinion.
Well, he's England under 19 international, isn't he, as well?
Exactly, and already.
This league is mad. Ipswich could go on a run and get second. Portsmouth could do it. They finished 10th last season, but you've got to look at the bigger picture. They were 7 points off the playoffs. In 10th. Exactly. That's how close it was last season. So
it's not
I could
be
see
anywhere
them
near as close this year. Not at all.
Well, that's where we've all... Jake had Ipswich in second, but that's where we've all... I can't believe we've done this as well. I didn't think we'd all do it. We've all put Wednesday winning the league, haven't we? Which is just not going to happen, but we've all done it.
Go on.
Every single stat means we should win this league, but Wednesday don't do that.
It's the Wednesday way to somehow let us down. But you know what, boys? If you're listening, right, we're backing you. We're fully backing you. Come on.
Every single stat pretty much says with Wednesday's squad and the strengthening and the way that it should. Right. Famiao, rated youngster from Ipswich. Ben Hennigan got league experience.
Permanent.
David Stockdale, Golden Glove winner brought in. These are additions, by the way, not just the squad we already bloody had to finish fourth. Will Vaux, Championship's mainstay. Michael Smith, Rotherham's top scorer. Michael Iwekwe, ever present for Rotherham at the back, who went up. We've got Backinson, who's we don't know about him at Bristol City, but he's not even probably going to be a first team straight away. We'll see what happens. Reece James on loan from Blackpool had a great season previously, not last season, but previously. Adding to the likes of Barry Bannon, Domi Orfa, who I need to see more of, actually. He needs to see some consistency from him in a minute. But already we had Lee Gregory up front. It's
mental. Like that to me sounds like a solid upper. I don't want to do them a disservice for the in regards to the championship, but that reads to me like a sort of upper mid-table championship side, not a League One side. To me, not taking bias out of the equation. On paper, as they say, I hate that phrase "on paper," but on paper, to me that sounds very much top sort of mid-table of the championship, not at all League One. No pressure, guys. All right, no pressure.
We ain't going to do it though. We've all put it. Every prediction I've seen has put Wednesday at the top of the league, but somehow we're not going to do it. By the way, I'm not being the arrogant Wednesday fan there. I've actually gone to a point where I was looking and I was going, the stats genuinely tell me that I can't put Wednesday anywhere else.
Yeah, same. I literally...
But I don't think we're going to win the league, but we should. But we're not going to. So we'll see what happens. But
can you imagine if come the end of the season it's like Charlton that we've all got lower down there that end up lifting the title a week up, like second again, repeating history from the last time we were in League One for the second season running. You know what I mean?
I do know what you mean. To recap,
anyway,
Sheffield in 24th, I've got Port Vale. 23rd, I've got Bristol Rovers. 22nd, it's Exeter City. 21st, it's Lincoln City. 20th, Forest Green Rovers. 19th, Cambridge United. 18 is Burton Albion. 17 is Accrington Stanley. 16 is Fleetwood Town. We've got 15 with Morecambe. 14th is Shrewsbury Town. 13th is Plymouth. 12th will be Cheltenham Town. 11th, Oxford United. 10th, we've got Bolton. 9th, it's Wycombe Wanderers. 8th, it's Peterborough United. 7th, it's Charlton Athletic. 6th, it's Barnsley. 5th, it's Derby County. 4th, it's Ipswich Town. 3rd, it's MK Dons. And 2nd, we've got Portsmouth. That means Wednesday are technically winning the league in these predictions. Recap yours, please, my friend.
With an asterisk in these predictions. Okay.
Indeed.
So, 24th is Port Vale. I'm going to read it like the the results man on Sky Sports.
Yeah.
There are other news broadcasting people available. 23rd.
Yeah, none of them pay us, so.
23rd is Morecambe. 22nd, Burton Albion. 21st, Fleetwood. 20th, Cambridge. 19th, Exeter City. 18th, Forest Green Rovers. 17th, Cheltenham Town. 16th, Charlton Athletic. 15th, Accrington Stanley. Who are they? Never mind. 14th, Shrewsbury Town. 13th, Bristol Rovers. 12th, Lincoln City. 11th, Bolton Wanderers. 10th, Wycombe Wanderers. 9th, Derby County. 8th, Plymouth Argyle. 7th, Oxford United. 6th, Portsmouth. 5th, Peterborough United. 4th, MK Dons. 3rd, Barnsley. 2nd, Ipswich Town. And 1st, Sheffield Wednesday.
Now I would recap Jake's list, but it's practically Worko's list. But
here it is on
the screen anyway for the video watchers. We've obviously broke it down club by club as we've gone through. But yes, that is the predictions for League One. Don't kill us.
And if you're watching this as a breakout, it's a very long breakout. There you go.
God, it is. Yeah, very long. Pretty much half. This is the thing. This is going to be a breakout But the podcast is probably just going to have 40 minutes of garbage on either side of it. Because I still put the podcast in full, even if the breakout is pretty much the episode. So there we go. Because people only click certain things.
People want to see it. This is what the people want.
They do. It is. Do what the people want. Right. Let's talk about promotion rivals, shall we? So what do you think, Jack? You've been doing some research on our who you think are going to be our main rivals promotion this season. Let's discuss.
Absolute main rivals. A lot of people will say Derby County or MK Dons. I say Dons with MK very reluctantly because Wimbledon are the Dons. But anyway, so our main rivals are Portsmouth, I believe, because the quality of players they've signed, right, is actually quite eye-opening. You listed them off earlier, but like Marlon Pack, Michael Morrison, Joe Rafferty, to name a few. Dane Scarlett, who, again, I think will be the Golden Boot winner of League One next year. And your mate Joe Pigott that you've signed, by the way, that you always sign on football. Is it Football Manager you always sign him? And then you were like, yes, we need to get him at Wednesday. We need to get him.
No, he's not.
He's not? Is he not?
He's not one that I signed. He's one that I said we should sign, and we would end up linked with about a week and a half later.
There we go. So they've signed him. And just the quality of the signings. I mean, I think that Marcus Harness leaving will be a big loss to them because he was one of their pretty much solid wingers and everything. And from looking on the list, I don't think they've potentially replaced him. So it could be interesting to see how that goes. But they're such a dark horse because they've been in League One for so long. It's a bit like Sunderland last year. People were sort of umming and ahhing about whether they'd actually finally do it last year and get back up again. I think this is the year that Portsmouth are actually going to deliver on that expectation that they've had for so long. But I think that outwardly, in the outward football sense from other clubs, other fan bases, whatever, I don't think they'll be looking at Portsmouth and thinking, yes, they're automatic promotion contenders, just simply because of how long they've been in the league. But in my opinion, I think that's the team we need to worry about and keep our eyes on, rather than Ipswich or MK Dons or Derby. I can't believe I forgot Derby, but there you go. But yeah, that's my opinion of the absolute direct, rivals for the champion contender, automatics, whatever. Yeah.
No, that's a good shout. Let's have a look at the opening fixtures we've actually got, because Jake will have already told us a bit about Portsmouth, because that's in the past now. But MK Dons away at the weekend, then Charlton at home, then Peterborough away, then Bolton away, then Forest Green at home. It's a rough six, that, isn't it?
This is... No, but, right, so this is the thing, right? So we only think this is a rough six because historically this squad may not do that, because this squad, I think, now they've had Darren Moore for a while, they're going to be quite tough up here. I'm pointing to my head, by the way, audio only listeners.
He's getting it. He's getting it.
There we go. So I think they're going to be quite mentally strong, and I think that we're only saying that that's a very tough opening few fixtures because of historically we've been a bit shaky with the quote-unquote bigger clubs when we've been up against them. But I think this year we've actually got the sort of the willpower and the team cohesion to very much counteract them and be able to deal with that occasion, whereas we didn't before in the Championship. We didn't, quite frankly, because look at Wembley. I know it's ages ago now, but that sort of has set a stigma for a lot of Wednesday fans. I think that now when you see the big important fixtures, it's something to worry about. But call me an optimist, but I think that actually now we don't need to worry as much as we maybe used to worry about them, in my opinion. But what about you? How about you?
I'm still worried about our defence, because I'll pivot that on to what do you think to our defensive performances in pre-season, because we're still a little bit shaky at the back and from set pieces, aren't we?
Yes. However, last year we had a whole new squad pretty much to gel. This is a brand new defense line, pretty much.
Yeah,
with the exception of Dom Iorfa. But again, sorry to use the Arsene Wenger quote, it's like a new signing because he was out most of last season. But this is a whole new defensive line that needs to gel and needs to get on the same wavelength. But that's it. But that's fine because that's the only area of the team that needs to do so, rather than the whole rest of the squad needing to do so. Compared to last year, which is why we struggled at first. But I think that a lot of these mistakes are down to communication, which is what was the case last year as well, I think. But if we improve that, we'll be fine, because all the mistakes have come down to communication. It's not been technical errors. It's not been just an inability to deal with things. It's literally been one player talking to another and not giving the right shouts and giving the right information to one another. That's all. In my opinion.
Yeah. No, I can see what you mean, especially in terms of the communication, because we've got some very vocal defenders. Iwekwe and Stockdale seem so vocal, but the problem is for me is it's what we're seeing in preseason. What's concerning me is it's different players, but it's the same crap.
But
which
again,
is kind of like, I know what you mean. But it's different players that are communicating, but it still seems to be happening. So am I like, my devil's advocate there would be, is there a certain way we're structuring it from a tactical perspective defensively that just means, Jake always talks about zonal marking. Could it be something to do with that? Could it be the fact that that's where the downfall is, and even you bring new players into this system, they're all sort of like not really sure who they're meant to be marking, and it's kind of not working even with the new players and the new communication. Is it a system thing? Is that the issue?
I have an interesting take on this, and it's quite left field, right? So if you look at the coaching staff that we have, yes, Darren Moore, former defender, he has to look at the whole team. He doesn't have time to keep focused on the defence and how they're doing. We need a new defensive coach to come in.
Yeah.
In my opinion, that's what would possibly solve this problem. I know it's a little bit more on the wage bill or whatever, but if we had a dedicated defensive coach rather than...
We do, don't we?
I don't think so. I think we've just got general coaching for the whole lot. But I know it's a very left field answer, but if we get maybe another coach in the building who would be looking directly at the defense and whatever else, maybe that might be it, because maybe other areas of the pitch that are a lot more crisp, like the midfield, the passing is phenomenal from what I saw, and even compared to last year, the actual cohesion with passing to one another, I know it's a very silly thing to pick up on, but it's so much crisper and so much more direct to the players. There's no under-hitting it, there's no over-hitting it, it's just bam, 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 one to another with precision. And
I tell you what, yeah, we do need another coach on the team. Really, I can see what you mean about that, because I knew we had a lot of players move around to the under-23s and that, didn't we? But first team-wise, in terms of coaches, we've only got Darren Moore, Simon Ireland, and Jamie Smith, and then obviously Basso for the goalkeeping, and then the Ireland was a midfielder, but. Yeah, we've got all the...
my point. Yeah. Darren Moore can't look at
Jamie Smith was a fullback, but
he's the assistant manager, isn't he? The on-field, dealing with on-field stuff, not the tactical stuff. So they, as the manager and assistant manager, yes, they were both defenders, but they can't solely be looking at the defence and constantly trying to sort that out. They've got to keep looking at the whole team and how the whole team's progressing. So...
I think you need a tactical defensive coach there. The one that comes in from the tactical perspective with it and looks at setup and that's, that's a good point, that.
Because, sure, they were both defenders. You can always say, oh, well, they were both defenders, so they should be getting it right, or whatever, which is what a lot of Wednesday fans are saying. However, the responsibilities they have with the club, they can't keep just focusing on the defence. They've got to look at the whole team and constantly observe and train the whole team. They've got a bigger picture to worry about than just the defence, you know?
Yeah. When they're running drills.
Is if we solve the defence, that will be problem solved. But the bigger picture is they've got lots of matches to plan out tactically. They've got to make sure that all the players are cued in to what we want as a game plan. They've got the whole club to worry about. They can't just keep focusing on that defence. They've got to get somebody in my opinion, to look at that defence and keep not a psychologist, but like you say, an actual tactical defence coach, I guess. That for me would solve it, in my opinion.
It's a good
I don't know what you think.
No, good contribution. You're earning your loan points here, Worko. Well done. Just to wrap up, in terms of signings, who would you say your favourite's been and for what reason?
I'd say Will Volks, because I think it's just a big statement signing, we start as we mean to go on. We're not here to mess around. We're not here to get like left field. I do have a special mention, but it's for a personal reason. But Will Volks for me is yes, we're not here to muck around. We're serious. We're not here to settle and maybe try and do it. We're like serious about getting back up. But my other favourite signing is Tariq Backinson, because I always sign him on Football Manager.
You're such a me, you are. You are such a me.
Always sign him for Wednesday because he's got such a big potential and he's very good at League One level. And I'm like, yes, I'm having him. Come on, Bristol City, cough up. No, and there he is. We sign him in real life. Good. Like, what the heck?
We should sign Malik Wilks purely because when you sign him on FIFA, he is ridiculous.
And I sign Malik Wilks on Football Manager all the time too.
Yeah, it's these players.
But yes.
When we actually sign, we're
Sheffield Wednesday, serious. Sign me up as a scout.
Yeah.
I'm kidding. Yeah.
Sign us both up. Just say
there
it.
There we go.
Right. Or just listen to the podcast and then link players after a week and a half.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I'd sign you up at the club for another role, but I'll tell you that either later or after or whatever. But yes. Anyway.
I've really enjoyed this, Worko. Thank you for coming on this week.
Absolutely.
We will definitely have you back on. I think you could definitely be somebody who's on quite on the regular. But yes, I will. This is exactly what I was saying. I want good voices, not just the fact you've got a good voice. Obviously, being a voice actor with all that, but
thank you.
See, I'm just blatantly flirting by the sounds of it. No, there'll be some old men going that don't get the sarcasm in that completely just now melt down and leave a 1 star. So we'll leave it on that note. But yes, have you got anything to add towards the end of this podcast?
I know we've been very jovial and very humour filled, but there is just one very serious thing I just wanted to say, right? And Puncture 41. We all know him and we all love him. And I just wanted to go into bat for him a little bit here because lately, with his channel growing and everything, he's attracted some stick. And I really don't like what people have been saying because he's become a very close friend of mine the last few months and I love him to bits and I will always go out to defend him whenever this sort of thing happens to him. People have been leaving really bad comments to him about things that he can't control, about his illness, his FND illness, and about the fact that he has dyslexia. Yes, he might get words in a thumbnail wrong sometimes, but he can't help that. He's got a condition that means that happens to him. And the fact that people are going out of their way to nitpick at him for it, all without profile pictures and with very untraceable names, I might add, very, courageous of you, but it angers me so much that these people are going after him for this because they don't have the effort, they don't have the talent, the charisma, the work ethic to accomplish something like the pair of you have themselves. So they decide it's much easier to tear other people down that have got somewhere, and if they consider themselves part of the Wednesday family, then I'm sorry, but they aren't. Go and find somebody else to support, because we're all Wednesday, aren't we? It might be a slogan, it might be a little thing on the back of the shirts, but it means something to the Wednesday fan base, because we see it as a family. We look out for one another. We protect one another. We help each other. And the fact that people are doing this is I would say is an integral cornerstone of the Wednesday community by now, because he'd been doing this for 11 years off his own back, off his own financial means, off his own effort. And yet people are now trying to tear him down for these things that he has no control over, and it's just sickening. But that's
very simple with Jake. It's one of those things that people don't understand it, right? People see it, they think he's. I'll be very blunt, because this is the kind of crap we get in the comments, right? And I usually clean it up, because I don't want him. He gets it on his channel if he leaves it. I don't want him coming to our comment section, so we just don't need them on the podcast. You know what I mean? If he's ignoring them and he's blocking them, they sometimes try and come on the podcast, and they'll even try and be like, oh, I like you, but I don't like him, or then they'll just have a pop at both of us or something like that, and they'll start saying the reasons. And the stuff I see that really angers me is the people that say that, what do you want people who are disabled to do in life? Because they're like, oh, he gets disability, we're paying for him to come and make these videos. Jake is disabled, right?
He can't help that.
He is doing what he can within his means, and his family is hardworking. And I don't really like drawing attention to it, because it's unspeakable what some people are like. Yeah. But it is not your Jake doesn't want to work and you are funding it and you are bitter about it and all of that sort of thing. Jake speaks on something he's passionate about, and there will always be idiots, right?
Exactly.
And there's just idiots in general, and we've made a big stance from the off that we didn't want that here, but this week has been particularly not very kind to him. But also, it's a case of I've seen it in the general. The reason I am not as active on Twitter, and the reason the Talking Wednesday podcast currently isn't as active on Twitter, is because I don't want to draw the idiocy that Twitter draws further than YouTube does. It's got its own thing, right? But Twitter's worse. Twitter's more. Twitter is the anonymous icons coming in. If you just look at some of the women we've got in our fan base, they speak anything. They could just immediately get it just for being a woman, right? And I look at it and go, oh, I just because it's the people who are doing it. They're doing it now past the point of they don't even care about it. They would actually probably be nice to you in the face, in the flesh, but they're just doing it because they get the little kick for it, and they think they can be a part of someone's life and bring them down for a little while, right? Mm-hmm. Most of it goes over my head now with stuff, but I just think about the amount of DMs these women in our fan base are getting. I'm thinking about the amount of crap Jake gets for just being disabled. Mm-hmm. The football space is bitter sometimes, and we're ending the podcast on that note, but I know you wanted to say that it's been a specifically bad note for it. I will say our community is great with that, and we have built a community, and we do ignore 100%. The noise, by the way. This isn't us. The reason I know Worko's mentioned it this week is because it's sort of it got quite bad this week with some stuff. But I do notice, and I do try and respond to all the positivity there, which is why we chat in the Discord, because our community is great for all of that. It is just the odd arse that decides to pop out of the woodwork and is vile, but you get that wherever you go. But I will not, it will not stop. If this podcast was to ever stop, it's because I ended up being too lazy for it. It wouldn't be anything else. Or too busy for it. And I'm busy as, it is funny when somebody comes and talks about not wanting to work when they're talking about Jake, and I'm like, right, but if I thought that about Jake, wouldn't that annoy me more than it annoyed anyone else? I have said to him before, I said, you are a bloody... I joke with him like, oh, you're all right, aren't you? You could just get a video out before I even got back from work and straight on the views, It's a joke because I know him and it's on a different level. Do you know what I mean? But there's just... It doesn't even... It needs defending, but it doesn't need speaking on anymore. Just be decent to each other. Yeah. But yes, Worker, I'll definitely have you on again, mate. And
M, I know you're listening. We love you, and I'm so sorry you went through that on Twitter. This is your game too. This is your club too. We are so grateful to have you in the Talking Wednesday community. You're an absolute gem. And
was this hasn't happened again, and I've missed it, have I? Is this you because you weren't on it before?
It's come up on Twitter. I didn't know about this before, but I just wanted to reiterate,
Oh, right,
yeah. And I just wanted to, because of the Women's Euros as well, there's a bit of a general thing going on because of all of that, but don't get me started on that.
There's general, with that, that's what I was saying.
We love you, and
You're a very like welcoming, affectionate man. You're a very huggable man, Jack. You're a very huggable man. You present huggable energy, sir. But yeah,
I try.
I've seen it with the women's Euros. I thought, I just genuinely, when you said that, I thought, not again, because I remember it first time with stuff. But like, it has been a case of just general. This women's Euro should do something for that side of it. It's never been a question with me, right? But then you realise that just because you don't see it in your direct gaze that there's something with it,
exactly.
You don't realise that there's a lot of knuckle draggers that do think like that. So, and it's more common than you might think. And it's normally your nice lads who you think are quite nice, but they have a drink and they say stupid stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I am one for growth. People can grow, right? People can grow up. But you've got to be held responsible for the things you've said and you've got to own it.
Exactly.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
You've got to own it and learn from it and actually accept where you were wrong and learn from it. And yeah. But yes, that's gone for a philosophical end. How many people have clicked off before that's even ended? But thank you very much for coming on this week, mate. We will be back to some sort of regular programming. We might do something with you in the very near future. My summers, I'm going away. I'm doing bits. So it might be pre-recording. You might get a message going, "Hey, jump on this. We'll get you on this." That sort of thing.
Are you free in 10 minutes' time, Jack?
Yeah, that's genuinely. The mine and Jake's recording schedule now is I don't know when I finish work on a Monday half the time. So I go, it's going to be this range in this 4-hour slot. I will literally text you when I'm about 10 minutes away from being ready, and then we're straight in, we'll record. So yeah, that's it. Sorry, professional outfit here.
Professional, yes, 100%.
But that is it for episode 77 of the Talking Wednesday podcast. Take care of yourselves, and we will see you in the next episode of Talking Wednesday.
Well, not me, but anyway.
See ya.
Ciao. Sayonara.